Here we are again. We're moving forward together. If this is your first time with us in this midweek devotion, welcome. If this is a time where you just set apart each week to be with me, awesome, thank you. If this blesses you, share this with others. But here we are moving forward together. We're in the Gospel of Matthew. We're moving through a weekend sermon series here at Trinity. If you're with us, either in person or online, we're talking about why we love Jesus, the one and only. We use the Psalms to guide us. And we wrapped up with the final point that the psalmist said and what we said is we love the Lord because His game plan, His word is flawless. And so today we find ourselves in His word, specifically the Sermon on the Mount. This weekend, Pastor Chris is going to be giving a great message about the glory of God, that is Jesus, the one and only, the weight of God, the attention of God, the focus of God is Jesus, the glory, the weight of God, the highlight reel, ESPN, right? Sports Center, it's all about Jesus. That's the glory of God. It's about Him. It's all about Him. And so since it's all about Him in the middle of the week, let's stay focused in on Him. And so we're on the Gospel of Matthew, specifically the Sermon on the Mount. Many of us are familiar with this. I just want to go through this, not in 30 minutes, in 3 minutes. So stick with me. And God's got a word for all of us. And so the Beatitudes is how the Sermon on the Mount begins. Blessed are you, blessed are you, blessed are you, blessed are you, blessed are you. I don't know about you, but I want to be blessed. I want those Beatitudes in my life. I want to be merciful. I want to thirst for righteousness. I want to be a peacemaker. Blessed are you. And so may you be blessed. May you live in these Beatitudes. And then He says you're the salt of the earth. You're the light of the world. That's you and me. Right? God's calling us to let His light shine through us, to bless the world as we are blessed, to be the salt of the earth, to add flavor to the earth. Then Jesus says He's the fulfillment of the law, fulfillment of all the prophecies, of all the requirements. He's fulfilling all of those for us. He's doing what we cannot do, and He's everything. He's everything. He's a fulfillment of the law. Jesus says this. What a beautiful truth that we can live, and that He's fulfilled everything. And then Jesus gets really practical here. He talks about murder. But He doesn't talk about murder in the sense of that which takes you to actual prison. He talks about murder that actually takes you to the prison of the heart. That's when we're angry with each other, when we hold on to hate and hurt, when we don't forgive each other, where we call each other idiots, right? Maybe not out loud, but in our hearts. And He says, you got to release this. This is like you're murdering your brother. Not good. Not good. You got to love from the heart, right? And murder starts in the heart. And so we got to deal with our hearts. And He talks about adultery, that which destroys a marriage relationship. Right? And He says it's not just the act of adultery, it's the heart of it. It's the mind. Right? We got to control our thoughts. We got to have sex in the right place. Sex is not a God. Right? We can't let it control us. It's a blessing with a marriage relationship. We got to deal with sexual temptation. And then He talks about divorce. Right? Again, within the gift of marriage. Right? He says He hates divorce. And Jesus says it's about the hard heart that causes that. And certainly many of us have experienced divorce. We know others. Right? It's not what we had set out to do, but yet it happened. Right? There is forgiveness, there is grace, certainly. Right? But yet marriage, this covenant. And Jesus picks up on that right after He talks about divorce. He talks about oaths. Right? If you make a covenant, if you make an agreement, stick to it. Be a man, be a woman of your word. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. And He continues, an eye for an eye. He talks about not hating your enemy, loving your enemy, praying for your enemy, bringing peace to your enemy. How easy is that? Not easy, but yet we're blessed if we do that. Right? And then He talks about giving to the needy. Maybe you're someone who is in need right now, desperate need. Right? But I think many of us who are watching this, right, we can give to the needy. Right? We can help others with the resources that God has given to us. And once we're blessed, if we're needy in this time, right, God calls us to give then. Sometimes we need to receive, but He calls us to constantly have our hands open, not living right, greedfully. Right? And then He goes into prayer. And that we would be prayer warriors here, empowered by God. He talks about these petitions. He shares these petitions with His disciples. The Lord's Prayer, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be Thy name. Thy kingdom come, Thy will be done. Right? And He goes on. Then after He talks about prayer, He talks about fasting. I don't know how many of you fast. The season of Lent is coming up, right? But that's when we give up something that we know is distracting us from God for a period of time. Right? We bring something else in to fill that so we can deal with this temptation, so we can get even closer with God. And so maybe God is calling you to fast from something. But Jesus talks about that. And He talks about treasures in heaven. Where your heart is, there your treasure is also. Right? That we be building up true things that matter. Not things here on earth, the true things that matter. Certainly relationships do matter. They are eternal. Right? But treasures in heaven, right? It talks about money, having the money in the right place, right? Not an idol in our life. And he gives us great teaching about worrying. Right? Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow has enough worry of itself. Right? Instead, focusing on today, but don't worry. Right? Think about tomorrow, have hope. Look at the birds of the air and the lilies of the field. Right? How much more does your Father love you than He loves them? He's taking care of you. Live in peace today. Today, don't worry. And then he talks about judging others. Remove the plank out of your own eye before you look at the sawdust in another. Right? He doesn't say don't call each other out, but he says here's how you need to do it. Remove the plank, right? And then help them with their sawdust. Right? So be humble when you love each other with truth. Right? He doesn't say don't give truth to each other. He just says here's how you do it. But so many of us, we're just judging, we're just condemning, we're not doing anything out of love. And then he says this, ask, seek, and knock. Right? He comes back to prayer. Right? Ask your Father. He's going to give you. He's going to give you what you need. And as he continues, he talks about narrow and wide gate. Right? Jesus, right? The gate, the way, the truth, and the life. The tree and its fruit, right? Our fruits, that we have the fruits of the Holy Spirit in our lives. And then it ends with the wise and foolish builders. Right? Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The winds came, the rains came, it beat against the house, but it did not fall because it had its foundation on the rock. The foolish man didn't build his life on the rock. The rains came and his house, his life, his family fell apart. Jesus, the one and only. I pray that His Word guides us, right, in how we live today. How we live today. So may we move forward together in faith, hope, and love. Hope to see you this weekend. If you missed worship last weekend, I encourage you to go to our YouTube page and check it out. If you're not part of our Facebook page, you can go to Trinity Utica on Facebook. You can like it, you can follow it, and we'll give you more updates as the years go on, as the days go on, as the weeks go on. All right, so be blessed, and we look forward to seeing you in worship this weekend. If not in worship, for our devotion next week.